to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to episode 59 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest-running Anthem podcast on the internet. I am your host, Steve, along with my three co-hosts, Michael, Devon, and JD, who happen to be dressed up as... I know what two of you are. JD, are you just like a teacher? Like, is this what you're dressing up as? This is what you're going to be when you actually become a teacher? Is that what that is?
No. I was just aiming for a detective, but man, you should have seen the guesses I got at school. People were like... They were like Doctor Who, they were like Sherlock, they were like Constantine, Castiel from Supernatural. The guesses were all over the place.
But not one of them was a teacher, was it?
Oh no.
Were any of them a detective?
I think one or two kids got it right. The weirdest guess had to have been... The weirdest kid had to have been the one that looked at me and just went, "Are you James Woods?"
Okay.
Kiss.
Yeah.
I got nothing. This anytime I throw it to JD, I just get I don't even know what's going on anymore.
You know what you're getting into. You know this by now.
I actually don't. Guys, I will tell you what we're getting into. We are getting into 113 days until launch of Anthem. Getting into 106 days until you get your 1 week early access with Origin Access Premier, or your 10-hour trial on the Xbox and PC, and only 92 days until the demo gets released. We are less than 100 days until people will actually be able to get their hands and play Anthem, which is kind of, before when we were doing the podcast for so long, it was so far out there that it was never like anything that you could read. But now with 92 days, that's very fast. That's soon. We did get a really good look at the game these last couple of weeks. Last week, we got a stream from Paris. They went all the way to Paris so that they could show us some Anthem. We got a stream today, and we got a huge info dump on the website that we're going to talk about. But before we jump into all that Anthem goodness, we have a giveaway to attend to. So first thing we did, we had a pumpkin carving contest. We wanted everyone to show us your pumpkin carving skills and give us an Anthem-themed pumpkin. And we got a winner from this. Devon, will you announce the winner of our very first pumpkin carving contest?
Demented Mr. J. This guy with his rabbit there should die. Die, grab it, die.
So congratulations to Demented Mr. J for his Grabbit pumpkin. I'm kind of sick of the Grabbits. Like, this is really hard to give it the win, because I'm like, all right, I'm done with the Grabbits. Like, we don't need to talk about any more Grabbits anymore. Like, the best thing Ben or Mike did today on the live stream was shoot the Grabbit, not talk about it, and move on. Because seriously, when we were at Paris and we were hunting Grabbits, it seriously felt like Elmer Fudd was chasing, Grabbits, and just a whole episode of Looney Tunes was happening out there. Yes, it was bad. So hopefully this whole Grabbit craze will die down and we can go on to figuring out, because now you know what the craze we should have. We should have the frozen dinosaur craze. That's what we should be talking about from here on out. Frozen dinosaur. So first thing, a couple things that we saw at Paris Games Week. We learned a couple things. So Tom and Lee, their community managers, they did a little stream out there in Paris. They had two game changers with them playing the game. And there's a couple of new things that we learned. We learned that there's a Corvus agent named Tassin that's going to be giving us some missions. And I believe this was the very first mission that we'll encounter when we play Anthem. And we need to go find Matthias Sumner, who is an Arcanist. And apparently he's lost. He's really focused on the work that he's doing. So we need to go find him. And Tassin is the name of this Arcanist, sends us out there to go do that. So we meet up on top of the top of the wall that we've seen back from 2017 until now, which every time we see that thing, I think it gets better and better. First, we saw it was really populated with a lot of people. There was a lot of workers out on the top of the wall. There were a lot of, what are they called? People that are defending the thing that don't like Freelancer. Sentinels. There's a lot of Sentinels out there, but every time we've seen it since, there's been no one out there, which I think is kind of interesting. So we jump off there and we start our mission. So, and the Paris game stream, the stream you can find on YouTube. I don't think they saved that to their Twitch page. They did save the stream from today to their Twitch page, so that you can actually go back and you can find that. Paris you can find on YouTube, but I think you can skip it. You can probably just go to the stream today. There's a lot more information in that stream, a lot higher quality. I think Mark had said that when they were doing the Paris game stream that there was an issue that the graphics got set on to low.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't remember if he said if it was set on medium or low, but they were not set on to their highest setting. So
today
I would say you can go ahead and skip that.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So a couple things that we did learn. We did see. I'm guessing that this first mission that they sent us was a kind of like a tutorial mission. They had really giant rings floating in the air telling you where to fly, which were very. I mean, if you thought the combo indicators were big and intrusive and took you out of the experience, I mean, these were like pilot wing style rings in the air, which for a tutorial, if they only come up once, that's fine. But if they're constantly there, it would get pretty annoying to me personally. I don't know what you guys feel about the giant rings indicating people where to go all the time. You guys have a preference?
It wasn't a big deal for me.
Well, that's because you need directions all the time anyway. So
yeah, I mean, but of course, because I just go off on my own. Oh, where am I supposed to go? Over here. Okay.
If only I had a giant ring in the air, tell me where I needed to be. So it could come in very handy if you get lost all the time. But seriously, like, I mean, they're huge, they're big. With the graphics that they were set on medium, I mean, that the effects that they were supposed to get off didn't look great at all, and that could be for a couple different reasons, because it's they're still working on it and they're just kind of placeholder, or because the graphics were set so low that it messed with what they were actually supposed to look like.
Well, and it was getting streamed too, so that also degraded it.
So there was a lot of things that happened there that didn't make it the best. So, and then we couldn't really see the interceptor in action. We were following the storm around, so we got to see a little bit more of the storm. We got to see it in action. I thought it was kind of interesting that the storm actually doesn't sprint on the ground; it actually floats and sprints. I kind of was disappointed in that, because I kind of like the run animations that we've seen of the other javelins. It just kind of looks cool to watch them run and kind of the weight to them.
Right.
Maybe it's just something that I will get used to playing the storm, that you're just kind of floating around. And it also doesn't add a lot of like that movement, because you're kind of in the same position as you're floating around. I don't know how you guys feel about floating versus running with the sprint on the storm.
I think it's kind of like Mike said in the stream today, Mike Gamble, when he was on the ground. And when he was on the ground, he was super vulnerable as a storm. And so he's like, the storm's not meant to touch the ground, basically.
To be on the ground, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think they took that in everything that they did. And, so sprint is, even if you're close to the ground, you're just hovering still and pushing away. So.
Yeah, and I can understand that it needs to be up. I wonder if there's some lore reason. So I think I got something in my eyeball here. I can't see it in my eye. If it's like a lore reason that if it's touching the ground, if the storm is grounded, it loses all that power. So it has to be up in the air. I mean, maybe there's a lore reason to that, because otherwise it's like, watching the interceptor, watching the ranger like run, it's like, wow, this is a really cool animation. I can dig this. Kind of pan around. It's kind of a cinematic feel. Maybe I'll change my mind as I get more hands-on with the storm. But as of right now, it's kind of an interesting decision. I'm not saying it's bad or it's going to like affect my desire to play the storm, but it's just kind of, it makes it really different.
Well, I'm sure it also has something to do kind of what you're saying with the lore, because whenever the shield goes down, the storm can't fly, right? So when it
just drops right to the ground.
So there has to be some kind of lore in there about the storm, and obviously since they got it from the Dominion, and there's got to be some story in there about why.
I would think so. That way. And even if it's not, again, it's not like a game breaker. It's like, oh, I can never play the storm because it doesn't run. I mean, we saw it walking around, jumping around, no problem. It's just whenever it starts to sprint, and for the storm, like you said, it wants to be in the air anyway. Yeah. So it doesn't want you sprinting around enemies. It wants you in the air, recharging your shields, so you can give that buff up.
Being at the distance.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we started off with Mike and Ben, giving us a little breakdown, saying that they've hit alpha. Mike says alpha is really dope, and that there's going to be a lot more streams to come in the future. I think they're planning on, if not next week, there'll be a following week where they're going to do a whole stream about customization and how to make your javelin look really different. And when they asked Ben about that towards the end of the stream, he didn't really want to go into it because he wanted it to give it the time he deserved. So I think there's a pretty big system involved that's going to take, time to explain. It can't be, you change this and it swaps out. Sounds like there's going to be something, a little bit, more into that. I don't know what that is. I don't know if they're going to start adding perks to cosmetic items. That would seem weird if they did, saying that, the way you look and the way you play power, and they keep saying power and personalization or customization is different. So
yeah, they're separate from everything that they've told us. Is completely separate. So, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to hear what that is. So first, we got Mike Gamble. He is a lead producer on Anthem. We had him on the show, I think, around episode, what was that, probably 46. We had Ben on maybe around episode 51. Mm-hmm. So these two guys are getting together. Ben is in Irving. Mike is up in Edmonton. I always think it's weird that these guys have, they're working on this.
Huh? You mean Austin?
Ben Irving, yeah.
Irving is his last.
Isn't there Irving, Texas?
Yeah, Irving, Texas.
There you go.
Ben Irving and
so
Irving.
They're somewhere. Yeah, that would be weird. That would get really confusing. So Ben is piloting the Interceptor, and Mike is piloting the Storm. And first off, like right when they load in, I mean, these are the most different looking javelins that we've seen to date, with the most different paint schemes. I think Ben called them vinyls.
Yeah.
Mike Gamble has a setup that's supposed to be designed after the P-51 Mustang, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if this is like their art team are designing these, or if this is something almost like a livery in Forza Horizon that you can go in and actually customize yourself. They haven't said anything like that, so I'm guessing that it's just their art team putting these things together. But I mean, having like a P-51 Mustang, they've got like the star and the bars on this thing everywhere. They have the shark teeth on the arms, which looks really cool. But you're like, well, this is straight from our world into your world. Is this something that anyone with the skills can get on and make anything they wanted?
That would be cool.
Otherwise, and that would be super cool. But I mean, they haven't really talked about that at all. But so what do you guys think? Like, I know we've seen things like they've got the N7 suit in there. I mean, they can make cosmetics and it can be purely cosmetic and they can sell the cosmetics or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, for you guys, does that take you out of the world being able to see, next thing we're going to have, sponsorships from soccer teams on these javelins. Is that going to take you guys out of the game at all when you see Real Madrid sponsored on the Interceptor fighting next to you?
I don't think it's going to be a big deal since, you're only going to be playing with 3 other people, so it's not going to be a huge deal to me anyways. And, it was interesting because Mike said AJ was the one who set him up with that character, and so they mentioned that, yes, it looks harder than it. It's only on the mid-level of the first difficulty, or the first 3 difficulty levels that you have before endgame. And it was difficult because, 1, it's not set up to their play styles, and 2, that they didn't set up any of the gear or anything else. So, yeah, I think if you can customize everything yourself, I think that would be pretty cool. So it adds a whole nother layer of customization. So,
because then that's a uniquely yours Javelin exosuit. Even if it's just something simple as putting chevrons and bars, maybe a little bit of theming with the Mustang decals and stuff. Yeah, I'm totally for it. That'd be cool. Because then I won't look like everybody else in there. It'll just be my stuff. So cool. And I like that you likened it to the Forza thing because that's my kids are on it all the time, painting cars and putting chevrons and banners and even the products. It's on cars, so you expect cars names on cars, but maybe you can get something from the world of Anthem specifically. Maybe there's, I don't know. I don't know what's in there. Maybe you could get a Sentinel badge or something, or down with Sentinels or something, something like that.
Unlocked through achievements, okay?
Something like that.
Unlocked through achievements, pay for. JD, does this take you out at all? You're like BioWare for life. If there's a Klingon and a Romulan with my Krogan, it makes you upset. Or doesn't.
It's cool.
Or whatever.
Not real. Not in this case. I just I do think that if it is a type of system where we can, create whatever patterns we want based off of certain shapes, I think we've seen with other games, ranging from Forza to Call of Duty, that usually when some people have that freedom, you do need to have a type of reporting system because some people do take advantage of that in an inappropriate way. But aside from
What?
that, I'm pretty much
People
on the
do
same
that?
page as Mike.
That
where
never
it's
happens.
another good point of customization,
And I
and
think one of the cool
it's
things,
something that adds on to it.
and I think one of the cool things you could do is you could share those, and you could be featured as, this is what this person made the storm look like. You can download those options if you have those if you have those items, or hey, fill out your customization options for $5. I don't know. Start talking about that, and I mean, if it's all purely customization, I don't mind spending. So then we've got Ben in the Interceptor, and he's got a completely different look. He's got a blue, red, not red. He's got a blue, gray, and color scheme going on with his that looks completely different. A bunch of different triangles on the chest piece of the Interceptor. All this stuff looks really good, really cool. I mean, this is the first real look that we've got at the Interceptor, like actually following it, seeing it in action, and like the Interceptor looks like an awesome javelin to be piloting. Ben set it up with a melee build. He's got 2 different gear slots that he said is for up close and personal combat. He has an ability that makes it so if he can chain attacks together, he gets a little status buff that puts an AoE around him, and that's dependent on what he selected. So you can see him running around while you're watching the live stream, that sometimes he'll just be a ball of electricity running around, and that's coming from an ability that he has. And I wish they would have gone more into the abilities that they did have equipped. Mike talks about the wind wall that he can put up that creates kind of a barrier that enemies can't shoot through. That's part of one of those abilities. And I wish they would have gone into more details about those. But it sounds like we can actually go into detail more about them later because they are actually put up on the website. So very cool things. And then we, again, just like the Paris stream, we are on top of the fort again. Same spot we were in 2017. Still no one around this time. It's not at night, so I don't know if this area is just not populated anymore. If it populates after a certain amount of time in game, we know that the fort changes as we make decisions. So maybe this is one of the sections of the fort that will change also, or maybe it's a section that won't change because this is where you actually meet up with other players, and we know that our forts will be separate from each other. So maybe the fort is just going to be vacant now from the outside.
That's probably more like it. It's more like a common area where, where everybody goes, and it's got to stay the same and look the same.
I guess because there is the opportunity that if decisions you make, if you kick the Sentinels out, or if the Sentinels don't like you, they're not guarding the wall. So that would, kind of make, if you chose pro Sentinel, or if someone else chose no Sentinels, and that would be weird if there were Sentinels out there in the game that you were playing. So maybe it's just going to be a vacant area. Not sure. But this, when we jump off this time, like, it was amazing when we jumped off in 2017 for the first time and we dove all the way down. In Paris, it was really hard to see because the graphics were lowered and that draw distance, I think, was changed. So it's even hard to like recognize that this is even the same spot in the Paris stream. But as you jump off during the live stream that Mike and Ben did, you can really get the sense how big the world is, because they dive down super far. You can really get the weight of falling, because you kind of go through this roller coaster effect as you're falling down, passing these giant waterfalls that you can see, and it's just really cool to watch them jump off the edge of the fort. And we said that back in 2017 that this is one of the cool things that you can do, but just seeing it again, very clear 1080p in the stream, it was pretty amazing. I was geeking out about it. I don't know how you guys felt about them jumping off, but I was geeking out about the whole thing.
You are a pilot, so you're kind of biased towards things
flying around
and flying things. It'll be a fun thing. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where you're like, okay, jump off again, go here again, because starting points always seem like that when you're going out of a place. Kids and I are playing Forza right now, and we always start at the house, right? So you always start there, even though my objective is way up at the top of the map, and I could get there faster if I, buy another house, but I'm cheap. I don't buy anything.
You are so cheap, Mike.
I'm so cheap with all those. Anyway, and so you start down at the bottom, so it's kind of a long haul to get there. And so hopefully it doesn't turn into that in Anthem, that you're always at the fort. Whenever I start free play, I always start at the same place, even though I know that I want to go somewhere else in the map. You know, maybe that's time to utilize the Strider and just live out of the Strider. But I guess you can't do that all the time either, depending on what's in the fort. So hopefully it doesn't become a thing that is, okay, hey, where are you? I'm jumping in with you. Where are you? Oh, I'm leaving the fort, so I'll be there in 3 minutes, you know? So
I thought they said at one point they had fast travel somewhere.
Yeah, and fast
On the
travel
map.
is done through the Strider also, so that'll facilitate. If you need to get somewhere fast, I'm sure you load into the Strider and it'll take you over there. Or maybe you'll even have the option to start out in the Strider. But yeah, I mean, I can see that, you know, sometimes those things do kind of get redundant, but maybe as the story changes, those kind of things will change. And we know they've been talking about the, you know, how dynamic the world will be. So maybe jumping off the fort for the 600th time, and now you're running into a world event. There's a Titan, you know, knocking at the door of the fort. So that changes it up also.
well, and
Different
I
opportunities
get
for that to happen.
I get that, but after 600 times of jumping off, we've probably seen all of the eventualities that could take place, right?
Maybe it's very possible. I would assume so
So-
after 600 times. I mean,
Yeah. So, but I get what you're saying, and I don't know if I've ever started a game 600 times, because that's basically what we're saying. But I probably have, actually, now that you mention it. So that's
Yeah,
what,
you probably have.
That's 2 years. That's 2 years of playing.
yes.
Equivalent to 2 years of playing. So anyway, I mean, it's just something to think about. Something that might, just one of the nuances of the game that might exist.
So first thing is, as we were watching these guys fly around, they're kind of telling us what they're doing. They, you know, go, they find a grab it, they murder a grab it, and they move on. They don't spend too much time hunting them all down. And we end up in a world event very quickly. And my thinking was, you know, they've talked about world events and being able to do these things on the fly. I wonder if they were just, you know, watching them play and they had someone in the booth, you know, just being able to hit a button to activate a world event right then and there.
Just to cue
Because
it up and say, there you go, world event. Hey, look at that, guys. We found a world event.
Well, they said they didn't
mean-
plan it, right? And then obviously it didn't work out well
Right.
because they triggered 2 events at one time,
Yeah.
and that really jacked them up. My biggest concern, right, is they're playing free play. If you jump in with 3 other random people, so there's 4 of you on there, those guys were having a tough time with just the 2 of them to complete that world event. You know, and how are you supposed to do that by yourself when
and
you're in
2 of
free
them
play
in
with?
2 different javelins. So imagine 4 people with the same javelin.
Yeah, or I mean, that's the thing that concerns me about those world events and that stuff. Since we're supposed to be spending a lot of time, you know, to get any kind of crafting materials and that kind of stuff, that's majority of that is all in free play, right? And so, I mean, I can understand. Okay, you can jump in with your buddies and do that kind of stuff, and let's go cruise around and free play. But if you're just by yourself, that's going to be difficult, especially with the map being as big as it is. It's like, oh, I'm in a world event, but nobody else on the server, the other 3 people are going to come help me. So,
Yeah.
especially for timed things and stuff like that, it's going to be impossible. I mean, maybe not impossible, but it's not going to be very enjoyable to try and do those by yourself. At least that's what it looks like to me.
That one that they first did seemed like it was 2-part, so you had to take care of ads and collect. I think he called them wisps.
He keeps calling them wisps and echoes. So.
Well, I think
Yeah,
that was,
they're
the 2
called
different
echoes.
events, though. But I think that was 2 different events.
I think Mike was just using a nickname that he calls them wisps. They were echoes on this.
No, I think go back. Look at that first event that they did, where he collected, because they looked different the first time versus the second time. I thought. I only got to watch it once.
Well, the
so
first time they were
maybe-
much
No,
larger.
Mike is right on that one.
Which Mike? We're talking
Like,
about
those
Campbell
are
and
definitely
then-
different objects.
The first one was much bigger, and they could shoot them and collect them.
Our Mike, Mike Lamson.
Yeah, and I think
So
as we
anyway,
as we
sorry,
talked
Steve. I
about-
didn't mean to derail you. I'm trying,
Yes, you did.
I'm trying to lose that.
You'll never lose it, Mike. The derailer.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so it seemed very coordinated. You had to have at least 2 people in there, one to take care of ads, one to pick up the artifacts, the wisps, the orbs, whatever they're going to be called, and then get them back to the chest. And one time he did time out, didn't he? Because
Yeah, the very first time.
he started fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right,
Right.
Devon. Just speaking to your point, if you're not on with your buddies in a coordinated effort, some of those world events seems like you're not going to be able to get them done.
Well, Well,
like
I think
doing like doing a
also.
public event in Destiny by yourself. It might be done, but it's gonna kill yourself, man.
Well, I think also they talked about. I mean, they didn't know what level the game was on when they first started in, so I think they were a little bit higher than they thought they were. Plus, they didn't have their own loadouts,
I
the
guess
things
that's
that
true, too.
that they wanted for their personal playstyle. So that might have played a factor into it. I mean, Mike was shooting that ball around a bunch, kept missing over and over again. Like, I mean, I'm sure, like with other weapons, he's probably straight on, but he
Super
kept
proficient.
missing with that ball. So I think that plays along into it also. I mean, the other streams that we've seen, for sure, Paris, they're playing on like the lowest difficulty. Like you could walk up to those guys and like breathe on them and they would die, right? So this was a lot different. And I think it's better that they showed it on this kind of difficulty because this is what a lot of people were saying before. This game looks too easy. People want a challenge. Like, this looked like it was a challenge. And you guys are right. Like trying to get, collect the echoes within 1 minute while you're dealing with ads. Each time you add more echoes into the thing, more ads come. That does look hard, and I wonder how they are going to handle that. If you go in solo, does it scale for you, or does it scale for the 4 people that are in that instance with you? Because it would be weird that if you have 3 people all the way on the other side of the planet, that the game is saying there's 4 people in here. We need to make it these enemies need to be
for that, but then only
right.
one person is in this area, Arden's Road or whatever they called it, and yeah, exactly. So it's
and maybe there's just so many different types of events that I can do this one solo, I can't do this one solo. Yeah. Maybe there's going to be that variety to where I can't do this right now. Or it would be a pretty big bummer if you're like, nope, I can't ever go into free play unless I have 3 other people with me, which would be a weird design position.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird decision. So I don't know if they'll do that, but knowing that there are the first basic hard mode difficulties, look that hard. Plus, there's more after that. That's something that I'm excited about because that means there's going to be some. Okay, I've completed it on Freelancer mode. What do I got to get to that next level, whatever that's going to be? And then what do I got to get to push to the next level? What do I got to get to push after that and to get your whole crew there? Yeah. So that's the thing that I'm pretty excited about. And then you got all the
javelins, right? So maybe your main javelin can be ready, but the other 3 aren't ready to go push to that difficulty, and then it goes into planning for everything else. It's like, all right, this is where we're going to try and tackle on this difficulty. Are your javelins ready for that level? It's like, well, my main is, but I don't want to play that one. I want to play my interceptor or something else. And so it's like that javelin's not ready for what we're going to go do, And so it definitely gives you a lot more to work towards, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so. And with the amount of gear that they're going to be dropping, that's pretty exciting. So the first of all, the first world event that we have called Arcanist Secret. So there's this giant stone. It looked like a stone box. I couldn't tell if it was like a treasure chest. It didn't look like there had any hinges or anything, but it came out of the ground and you go up and you have to attune it. So you have to collect some orbs, bring it back. And while that's happening, in this instance, the scars appeared. Scars were appearing in drills and they were appearing in, I think in the Paris stream, they call them warp portal holes. So there's 2 different things that these guys are coming through and you have to destroy them there. So go ahead, Devon.
Well, I think so. The ones that appeared when they went to the box, right, and then over past it, where that main boss with the shield spawned. So I'm confused about which one when they were talking about. Well, when Ben said, "Oh, we spawned 2 different ones at the same time," or triggered 2 different ones at the same time. So I'm like, well, because the one that they were mainly trying to do was where they were collecting all those echoes or whatever that Mike had to fly around. Yeah, for the box. But the other one with the scar and stuff was whatever else that they triggered.
And so I think the scars were separate from...
Yeah, the scar were separate until they collected all the stuff, and then they started spawning on the other side before you put that wind wall down to protect the area, which I thought was cool because you can shoot through that, but you can't be shot. So.
Yeah, which is nice because anytime you put something, a barrier up between you and the enemy, it's like, I really want to be able to shoot through this thing. I don't want to get out of it and shoot it. You just want to be able to shoot through it. So it's a really cool ability. And seeing it in action, and it seems like Mike and Ben have practiced this quite a bit, and just seeing hey, you put it here, okay, it makes sense to put it there, and you can see, okay, that damage is mitigated big time, so they're able to recover because their shields don't.
It's a big
It is a
wall.
very big wall, and it's tall too. You would expect, normal wall, it's just kind of small, but this one's actually tall. You can account for things that are flying through the air.
Exactly.
And I just lost my train of thought. But
JD
watching these
keeps
guys
disappearing.
play,
Am I the derailer? You were
you are the
saying
derailer.
you were saying that they've had practice. They've played it before. They kind of know where to set up strategery and everything. And then
And
that's
the
where
night-
I cut you
Yeah,
off.
and the nice thing about this, like listening to Mike and Ben like play, it seemed very normal how any other person would be playing the game. Hey, I'm going left. Hey, go right. Put covering fire down here.
Hey,
My
get over
shields
here
are
and help me
down.
do this. Get over here and
Yeah.
revive me. Hey,
Can
would
you
you
revive
mind
me?
come and collect some stuff?
Can you
Would
help me out over here,
Are
or
you gonna
busy?
play this game today?
So I
So
did.
it was.
It was interesting when they found that treasure box at the end, right? The box, and he's like, "Oh, you need to come over here. I found a box." Whereas before, in 2017, you didn't have to be right next to the box to get the stuff that came out of it. But this time, Ben had to go over there. So when they opened it, I don't know if he wouldn't have gotten it if he wasn't there.
Are you talking about right at the very end?
Yeah, at the very end. So.
Yeah, if it's a proximity thing or not, because he didn't actually have to open it, but I mean, maybe he just got close enough to the things that he was able to get it. Because in this, it looks like there is some magnetism to the items, just because your ability to fly around. Maybe you're not going to be lined up 100%. A lot of the time when Ben was collecting the wisps, they were either underneath him or right above him, just because there was different elevations that they were at, but they kind of just magnetized themselves to him. So that's kind of
Huh?
magnetized themselves. Like anytime I drink this like lemonade, it makes my tongue go kind of funny. Maybe I should just
So-
stop drinking.
So just a tangent, but kind of related to the chests. Did you guys happen to see if the loot was identified on screen?
The only one that I saw identified was when it said weapon parts. I had to have to look back through and go through it slower to see.
No.
Because I didn't see
Didn't
it
they say that
identify
changed?
anything. That it now it does
Didn't
or
they say
now
that
it doesn't.
changed though between the 2017 demo?
Yeah, at
Well,
least
the whole thing's
for
that, like, the way how I remember them
legendary
saying
stuff. Yeah. Keep going, JD.
Yeah, for things like Jar's Wrath, like the way how that appeared in the demo, that it does not appear like that now. And I believe it actually, like, I think you have to like take it back to the fort or the Strider in order to like identify it or something like that. I forget that they use a certain term, like decrypt or something.
Yeah, you got to decrypt
Not
it
decrypt,
or
that's
decipher.
Sorry, but it's something like that.
Okay, so
So
we're
there's a
gonna
cipher.
get like.
I mean, it
engrams
still
and have to
says
take them
above,
back.
like on the right hand side on the UI, like what it was or whatever. Like it doesn't tell you exactly what it was, but it tells you what type of engram or whatever that you picked up. Whatever
so
they
there
want to
were-
call them.
I didn't catch that part. Well, that's cool.
There were
I'm actually glad that they're going to be chests in the game. I didn't, because I think we talked about that before, that we didn't know how loot was going to be in the world, and we knew that there were going to be loot drops like after missions and stuff, but I don't think we knew about like just chests in the world. So that's going to be cool. And they also talked
Yes.
about materials and weapon parts and stuff. So
Yeah, so you got
And then
those,
they
and there's
also-
a couple other items that will punch you so hard right now. There's a couple other items that were actually identified when you picked them up. There was something called the Uncommon Ember. Those came out of the blue pods, out of the thing, and then there was a Chimeric Compound. So I'm guessing these are all the items that we have to collect to make the consumables.
And the
Because
beryllium shards?
I think so, because that's the only thing that we really haven't like been told about are the consumables. I mean, weapon parts and armor parts make sense that those are going to go into your weapons and your armor, obviously. The only other thing that we haven't accounted for are the consumables, or else why would we be collecting these? Maybe
Or
'Cause
a
I can't-
currency, right?
like a currency, but I mean, like when you say Chimeric Compound, it's like, okay, that's probably going to go into something that, it's going to be consumable, whether it's a grenade. I just don't know of anything else that those items would go into, as progression. Like, we're not making potions. It doesn't look like we're going to have any way to heal us other than picking up the health globes that enemies drop.
What did
Or
he
just
call
by
them?
waiting around.
Goblets?
Health globes.
Was
I mean,
it
that's
globes?
That's what they're called in Diablo, so...
Well, he called them. I think Ben today called them goblets. He said
Goblets. or something like
in
that.
his awesome accent, he's like, "I think I'm picking up a goblet or something like that."
I think he said globes, but I mean, it's the same thing. So those are the things that the enemies are going to be dropping, and they said that's
I
because
also
they want
heard
you to be
goblet.
pushing forward. You guys are wrong. You've
heard
only listened to it once. I've listened to it like 9 times. So, not 9 times. That's a lot.
Steve's a salty captain. He'd be like, "You sit down. You get
I
off
was like,
my ship."
I will turn
Pussy
this
shirt
plane
table up.
around right now.
I will too. So Ben talks a lot about the interceptor also doing combos. He says you can do like a dash plus a lightning kick as a combo, and then you get that AoE that follows the interceptor around after you do that. So we hadn't heard about any type of, other than doing like certain damage types and creating a combo, but being able to do a combo like that also, like I didn't even know that was something that you could do in the game. But it sounds like you can do a lightning kick, which sounds pretty fun until you go up against.
That sounded cool.
Yeah, until you go up against a couple of the new enemies that we learned about today. So today's the first time we've seen the Dominion. I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know if it's the first time we've seen the Dominion. I think that other creature that the Interceptor attacked in the My World, Your Story trailer that we saw, I think that was probably a Dominion person because they kind of look grayish. And so we saw the Dominion Frost Hounds, we saw the Dominion Shock Troopers, the Dominion Frost Valkyries, which were cool. They were like the Dominion Storms. They had a black glowing shield around them, looked pretty cool. And they were destroying.
And they ate them
Ben
up.
and Mike.
They killed them, man.
And then we had the Dominion Frost Brute, and it looks like, I don't know if like the Frost Brute is this big giant hulking. It's the Dominion Heavy, I'm assuming. But looking at the quick screens that you can actually see, I mean, it's pretty blurry. It's 1080p. You don't get to capture that thing, frame by frame. But it's this giant hulking creature with claws, and it looks like it's got like what, 2 giant cannons on its back. Yeah. JD reminded you of, some creature from Gears of War.
Yeah,
or something.
The Siege Beast.
Yeah, and it just looked cool, but everything, I don't know if those character models are all the way done because they were just kind of flat gray. Maybe they are flat gray because they're frost brutes, and they're just kind of cold, so their skin's all dead.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see a lot of these other enemy types, because I imagine if there's a Dominion Frost Valkyrie, there's probably a Dominion Lightning Valkyrie.
Lightning and fire.
Fire Valkyrie.
And that makes it so, it's going to matter what kind of weapons that we take. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty cool. So we got to see
where to land your ultimate, because then you have to start training your ultimate to be like, okay, I want the lightning here, I want the frost here, I want the fire here.
Well, as long as you're playing as a storm, as everybody else is just,
Well, that's what I mean, and that's what we saw today, Devon. So that's what I'm going to reference, obviously, because I don't know what the Colossus ultimate is, and I don't know what the Ranger's ultimate is.
What do you mean you don't know what those are? They've shown them off
your head
already.
A little bit too tight, man.
So, Mike, why don't you tell us about the Storm Ultimate and what it does?
I forget.
Devin, why don't you tell us about the Storm?
So the Storm Ultimate.
The Storm Ultimate is. Hang on, I got a little ghost.
The Storm Ultimate.
The Storm Ultimate is a 4-piece, 4-stage ultimate. So the first thing you get is a frost AoE or a lightning AoE that you can position. And then the second thing you have is a fire. Was it fire AoE? Anyway,
that's one of them.
So all 3 of the elemental AoEs. So there's a frost, a lightning, and a fire. And you can place those anywhere. But it did look like there was a timer involved. So if you're too slow, it looked like your whole ultimate would go away. So you place those 3, and they drop. And then when you've got them all confirmed, then you push your trigger again, and then it drops meteors. And I do want to say that I really liked the tagline on the ultimate. Yeah, where it said, hold trigger to drop meteors and some other stuff. They did say that was just the build, and it's not going to be in game, but I think
it's a shame. It should be.
It should be.
It really should stick around. It's funny.
It should, because it's funny, because you're like, I'm dropping a meteor and some other stuff. So,
dropping a meteor or something.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool, and that looked like a cool ultimate when he used it on the stairs. It was very effective, but I guess either I wasn't watching closely enough, because it looked like when he was in battle trying to drop it, almost the things didn't land almost exactly where it was, or I couldn't tell where the enemies were, and I couldn't see everything clearly. But when he dropped it on the stairs, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was hard to see exactly what happened on the stairs, but it was so effective. It knocked one of those wolves like into a spot where it could not escape from. And but I mean, I think, well, I hope that if you run out of time, it at least drops the AoEs that you've actually selected. Well, not anything, because if you don't get off the 3 shots on the siege cannon, the ultimate for the Colossus, then you only get 2 shots. If you only shoot 1 on that Colossus, then you only get 1 shot. So I'm guessing that, each time you select an AoE for the Storm, that'll lock that one in. But if you don't, maybe it just goes away altogether, which I guess you got to use it right, and be prepared to use it. It'd be kind of weird if you would only Yeah, so maybe it just disappears, or I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it drops what you have done. Maybe if the only thing you get off is the lightning, so maybe you set your lightning and then you end up having to be repaired, so you go down. Maybe at least the lightning will drop. If you run out of time.
Yeah, maybe it's possible. And we did
Yeah.
see that with the repairs. We speculated before when Mike Gamble sent out the picture of the Interceptor reviving both of the Rangers. We were kind of speculating, I wonder what kind of animation there's going to be. If you're just going to walk up to them, you're going to hold X or whatever, and they're going to come back. But we did see that there's a umbilical cord like animation that whoever's reviving one of the other javelins shoots out, and it fills up that timer while you've got this little cord. So I don't know if you're just like transferring the Anthem of creation that's you're using to power your suit into the other suit, so it gives it kind of like a jump start. If you're like clear,
Clear.
zaps them back into.
Maybe that's what it is.
into
It's just
commission.
cables. It's just jumper cables that you're attaching to the battery, and you're like, I'm repairing him.
Which is okay. I mean, that's not a bad idea. So
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a lot of cool stuff. We had we're picking up a lot of crafting materials. We saw a whole new a lot of new fauna. We saw dinosaurs that were running around. We saw the Tassalar up front, which it's a lot bigger than I thought it was when we first flew over it during EA play. Like the Tassalar didn't look very big,
Which one was
but
that?
the Tassalar had like the 6 glowy blue things coming off of it.
Yep.
The lightning animal thing that gave me when I first saw him, I thought of a movie. What movie was it? Keep going.
You thought
Think
of
it.
Trimmers.
Avatar.
So these,
No,
I mean,
it wasn't Tremors.
it's
might have
pretty
been-
big.
It might have been Edge of Tomorrow, like the mimics.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what it was. They gave me that because they had like stuff coming off of them and they were shooting their like little lightning or whatever. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, and these things were actually shooting lightning at us, which is pretty cool, pretty interesting. But they're big. Like anytime like you see these animals, you're like, oh, they're not that big. But then you actually fly up close to them, you're like, oh, like yeah, they're right. Anything in this world will probably try to eat you because you're a lot smaller than them. So it's
Right.
pretty interesting. It was interesting to see the new little dinosaur things. Looked like they were bugged out and frozen. So Mike just shot them. He's like, oh, you're not doing your job. You don't. I'm just gonna shoot you right here. So
You're
yeah,
out
just
of the herd.
get rid of them. So interesting to see those guys. And we saw the new big creature called the Anrasar. And this looked like a big giant crab.
So I was like, is that a
No.
crab?
I couldn't figure out what it is. Mike was shooting at it from a distance before
Mike was
they got
trolling
up
us
to
the
it.
whole time. He would be like teasing us. Oh, I'm going to go to this. Nope, just kidding. I'm going to show you this thing, but I'm not actually going to click on
But
it.
I'm not actually gonna do it.
It's
Yeah,
like,
so there's so many more enemies that we haven't even encountered yet, and it's just in this one little playthrough, we saw a bunch of them. First time we saw the Dominion, first time we saw this giant crab thing, and it makes you wonder, okay, what else is there? You know,
And it
hopefully,
didn't seem like we were too far from the fort.
we flew for a while.
Okay.
So one of the places that we flew to, which I thought was pretty cool. So what was the name of this place? It was called the Palace of. I wrote it down somewhere. Now I can't find it.
Dunbar
And now-
or something, or
Palace of Dunbar.
I don't think it's the Palace of Dunbar. See, if I would like to get my notes down better, like that would probably be better. So there's a lot of cool places that we saw. Saw the Mentors Trail. I'm guessing this is.
yeah, Sanctuary
one of the places that we go.
Dunar.
Oh yeah, so the
59.
Sanctuary of Donar. So the Sanctuary of Donar. This is actually one of the places that we've seen in concept art from way back when. It's that palace, like the old rundown looking ruins. It's got the gold things on top of a lot of the pillars. So we've actually seen this place. I'm 99% sure we've seen this in concept art, and this place looked awesome. It looked like you could probably spend. I do dream of it. I dream of the Sanctuary of Donar because that makes me wonder. Okay, if it was a sanctuary, what was it a sanctuary from? Who lived here? You know, what cool items are we going to find in the bottom of this thing? Because we didn't really go into the sanctuary. We were on top of it, and that was big enough. But there's got to be more things inside there. So I'm excited to see what is all going on in there. But man, I feel like I've talked like way too much. Anything else that you guys saw from the live stream? I mean, this is something that we're going to keep going back to.
Talked a lot.
I have.
There's a lot to go over in that live stream and a lot to talk about. There's no way we can cover it all in one night, and we have to do a big breakdown anyways of it. And
We will.
Is that a challenge, Devon?
So they did talk about, I mean, and then the guys actually answered a few questions that people came up with. And didn't someone ask if you could customize your javelin?
They did ask that.
I thought that was funny.
They also asked when the demo is released and if it's released on PlayStation 4.
This is coming out
So-
on PlayStation.
So with the customization stuff, I know we talked on it a little bit, and it was really kind of exciting that he said we're gonna have to do a whole nother stream talking about all this stuff that's related to this. So I think there's gonna be tons of stuff that we get to do there, and that's exciting. I mean, there's the gear slots that he talked about, and then the ability slots that you have, that are linked to the bumpers. You've got 5 on one, 4 on the other, and then 3 for both, and so that's gonna be fun creating build outs. So between the 4 javelins and all the different things that you can build, I think there's going to be quite a few different play styles available in Anthem, and that's going to be really fun. So then you don't have to lock in to a set play style, and you can definitely tweak and definitely make it. One thing that I didn't, and I don't know if you guys saw or not, but we saw the lightning ball, for lack of a better term, grenade that the storm was throwing. Did Ben say anything about the interceptor doing some type of grenade-esque?
So
ability?
we saw the frost grenade. No, I was thinking of something different.
In a different video that was released today by Eric's, he had all the interceptor abilities, and one of them was like some kind of bomb or something.
Okay.
And it's like a grenade, but they haven't. There's no footage of it, but it's listed off, and it should be on the website. Of the
But don't we
abilities.
have there was footage from 2017, right?
But not with
in
the
the trailer.
interceptor.
Okay, but there was a grenade, like an actual throw a thing.
Yeah, but that
Yeah,
one's not
from
the
the
one though. That one's we've already been told that was just placeholder, just to have it
Oh, okay.
throwing something.
Yeah.
They didn't
Gre-
have the actual grenade.
Grenades come from the Ranger, and we can talk about that. But like, before we stop talking about the live stream, like the live stream to me, like this is exactly what the team needed to put out for Anthem right now. There's so much misinformation and a lot of things that are scattered around that people have no idea or where to find the answers to. Having a Twitch stream of these two guys playing the game, talking about the game in a very casual setting while they're playing it, not stopping in the middle of it to talk about something else or answer other questions. I mean, this was a very focused, very casual, if that makes any sense, like having those two combined. Like this was the perfect stream that they needed right now.
But
Go ahead.
But Ben and Mike, I noticed you were 2 people short, and I know that there's at least 4 guys around here who would not mind helping you out, who can keep their mouth shut and follow orders, no spoilers. Like we're really good that way. We're trustworthy. One of us is a pilot, and one of us is a knight that took solemn vows, and then there's a hippie. So you can't trust him.
Celibacy,
A
or-
hippie.
I don't think you can trust him. He might not be.
I'm not a hippie. I'm a redneck.
I think
Right? You can always trust the
you can
redneck.
You could trust a detective at least, right? Yeah.
I don't know, JD. Have you watched Making a Murderer? Anyway, so having
Payroll all you want, JD.
this stream was exactly what we needed right now, and having more of these streams to get out this one spot. I mean, Twitch is pretty well known. People know that they can go to Twitch and they can find this stuff. It's easy to link to. It was very clear. The things that they talked about were deliberate. It wasn't just messing around for messing around's sake. It was very focused and just a great run through of what we can expect in free play, and that's what we needed. Like going from the Paris stream to this stream was night and day on what this game actually is. Like going before that was kind of like this wasn't a great showing, but this was pretty awesome, and I'm glad that they did this, and I'm glad that they're going to do more of it.
I think they should really record these and put them up on YouTube so we don't have to worry about going. I mean, it's fine to go back and watch it on Twitch, but I would love it if they had, direct feed straight to YouTube, maybe even in 4K. I would love that stuff, but I mean,
If
since
it
the
was
game,
in 4K, Devon,
hey, they're playing on
It'd be
PC. It should be in 4K, all right? So
I agree. All right, then we got some new information, guys. I think this is you've been asking for forever. What do these javelins actually? Go ahead and break this up, Mike. You're gonna go ahead and do the Ranger. If we can get Mike here in a second, or maybe
you're all
come in.
You're breaking up, Steven. You're like a robot.
So I am actually. You guys are breaking up for me. So once it all catches up, I will keep going here, and I will
Maybe it's
redo all of
Discord.
it. It could very well be Discord coming in and out. It happens a bunch. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the Rangers, and once the Ranger
back.
information. Okay, Mike's
I
back
think I'm good now. So I'm gonna read the Ranger information.
because you're like
So-
you're a resident Ranger guy. So go
I
ahead
am
and
the
read
resident
all
Ranger.
this new
So
stuff.
all this
that dropped on
is
it.
new that comes from the website, right? That's where we got all this.
This is all
Yep.
brand new as of today.
All brand new as of today. The Ranger Javelin melee abilities. There's a shock mace. When the Ranger Javelin chooses to mix it up at close range, it deploys an electrified mace to send a medically. Oh, hey, look. That's a fun word.
Yeah.
To send a
job, Mike.
medically inadvisable, that's kind of funny, a medically inadvisable of voltage through its enemies. But we all know that it's the amps that kill, not the volts.
That's right.
Ranger Javelin Grenade Gear. We talked about this. Quick to deploy. Grenades lay down area damage for effect crowd control at a moment's notice. Modified grenades can be found out in the field and can be equipped to create different effects, including frost and seek grenades. That's cool. A lot of trapping I noticed in the stream today, where an effect would freeze an enemy so that your buddy can come in and take care of him at the end. So that definitely fits the modus. Frag grenade, which deals impressive damage in a large area effect. An inferno grenade, which ignites an area, dealing damage and setting enemies ablaze. There's a frost grenade that damages and freezes enemies in place. Seeker grenade splits into smaller sub-munitions which seek out the nearest enemy. Seeker, that's cool. A sticky bomb, which attaches to a single target for a contained high damage blast. I wonder if there's an AoE around when that enemy explodes. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I would think there would be an AoE around all of these being grenades.
Right.
Maybe some of them are larger than others. I'm sure the frag grenade is probably a lot larger than the sticky bomb, but
Most likely. The Ranger Javelin Assault Launcher Gear. The Ranger's wrist rocket. The Ranger's wrist launcher allows for a variety of modules to be loaded on for an extra burst of firepower. Provides a more flexible combat approach that can take down threats quickly. A homing missile fires a projectile that seeks out a target. Oh, it's like a red turtle shell. Fires a projectile, seeks out a target for a small area of effect explosion. An energy pulse unleashes a blast of pure energy, hitting a single target with incredible force.
and I think this is the energy pulse that we've seen before from the EA play trailer when he attacked the spiders with energy. I'm guessing that's what we saw.
Yeah, you're probably right. So I get how this is set up now. So all of the grenades probably bind to like left bumper.
There you
Right.
go.
And then so all of these are going to bind to like right or however you map your controller. So you have the choice of all those grenades we read before, and then your other ability will be your wrist launch, which includes a homing missile, an energy pulse, a spark beam, venom darts. I don't think we're talking about that venom though, right? Where it's not like
Acid damage.
No, you're not talking about super
Okay.
villain,
super villain venom.
anti-hero venom. No, that
Anti-hero
terrible
venom.
movie. No, we're not talking about that. Anti-hero venom.
Anti-hero venom.
Hero.
A blast missile, or so then blast missile, venom darts, spark beam, energy pulse, homing missiles, and most of those do what you would expect. Homing missile seeks out, energy pulse is what we've seen. The spark beam fires a sustained beam of energy for continuous damage. Venom.
See, I want to see that spark beam in action. That's like Iron Man 2 action
sounds
right
pretty
there.
Yeah, that's what was the Destiny gun?
The
Cold Heart?
mollusk
The one
Cold-
that does it. So yeah.
spark beam.
So here's the support gear. This is gonna be your left right bumper combined. So the tagline is a skillful field general. The Ranger is capable of creating special fields that allow its allies to gain a tactical advantage. Bulwark point deploys a spherical field which deflects incoming enemy projectiles. That's cool. Muster point creates a field which increases weapon damage for teammates who enter its radius. Note, in a previous article, this ability has been listed as reducing gear cooldown. The ability has been changed.
Because it was too overpowered.
Too OP. The Ranger is too
Figured that
OP.
out.
So it looks like there's only two options there. So just the bulwark point and the muster point. And then here's ultimate ability, the one that we're all waiting for. Multi-target missile battery. Lancers can deploy a special ultimate ability that displays the true strength of their Javelin exosuit, dealing precise damage across a wide swath of the battlefield. The Ranger's multi-target missile battery allows it to target many fast-moving enemies with guided projectiles. Oh.
Well done, Mike. You did a great job.
That wasn't
that
Santa
Ranger
Claus
thing.
at the end. That was
I was guessing
that
it
was
was Tim Allen.
that was a throwback to Tim Taylor.
Oh. So anything stick out to you guys on this Ranger thing that we haven't heard of before? I mean, we knew they had grenades. I didn't realize that they were going to do this many.
That's
I
actually
just assumed-
a lot of options for grenades. 5 options is a lot.
And I'm guessing there will be different types of seeker grenades. It's not going to be a single seeker grenade. There'll be multiple variations on a grenade. So,
What
I
do you
mean, a
mean?
lot of these things sound really... Well, I'm guessing there's, we've got...
The different
They don't
elements
say...
plus
Yeah, I
super
don't see anything
grenade.
about lightning in there.
Oh, you think they'll be elemental? Nah, not with the Ranger. I bet the Ranger doesn't deal too
It has
much
a
with the
frost
element.
grenade.
Well,
And an Inferno grenade.
because
So-
okay, so then maybe the
And
seeker, maybe the frag grenade is maybe sticky. Maybe
Yeah, so I'm guessing there's going to be a large swath with that. I mean, even with like the spark beam, you can probably have a fart spark beam.
You can
Don't
have a
call it
fart grenade.
spark
What?
beam.
So
I
far,
got
is
this,
so
guys.
weird.
Hold on, my fart grenade is going off.
powered by burritos.
what did Mike say in the stream today? Shut up, Owen.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Shut up, Owen.
All right.
Oh, that's funny. So this is cool. I'm gonna speak to the Ranger for a second. I don't care if you move on.
So like the
Ranger is
Hermione
cool
Ranger? Is
because
that what you
it's-
said?
It did, because it seems like it's gonna fit the way that I feel like I'm going to play very well. I've got grenades, some kind of medium range attacks, missiles, and the energy pulse and stuff, and then being able to like kind of be in the center of everything, deploying the shield as the bulwark point or the muster point, where everybody kind of rallies together. Okay, let's get our boost real quick. Everybody ready to pop supers and ultras, and now let's go. And so that's just really cool. And I'm kind of geeking out on the Ranger right now because I think they got it right. They took all my advice. I wrote them letters.
I'm glad they did. I'm glad they got your letter. JD, do you have the internet capabilities to read things without breaking up?
Well, we'll see how far we get. Assuming
All right, I guess I'll continue then.
No, let him read.
Is he there?
All right,
I
JD.
thought he cut out.
He's just fine.
Can you actually hear me though?
Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you.
We good?
Well, trust
Okay.
me, Devon will stop you if it gets really bad, and we'll pick up. So you go ahead and. JD is our resident Colossus person. So
He is.
So for the Colossus melee ability, you have the heavy. We've seen that a few times at EA Play, and in some of the. But it just uses massive chassis as a weapon, both in a diving smash attack from the air and a hammering melee attack. This not only clears out smaller enemies instantly, but has a chance to knock down foes and leave them open to follow-up attacks. So I could see this being like a really cool thing for like Interceptor to like follow up with like a Colossus Interceptor 1-2 punch. But maybe that's just me.
yeah, and just as like quick advice to everyone out there, don't tell your significant other that they have a massive chest. Go ahead,
Or
JD.
two.
So we have ordnance launcher gear. Utilizing the incredible strength process, these shoulder-mounted weapons are capable of dishing out punishment to enemies near or far, your choice. And for that, we have the high explosive mortar, which we've seen a few times. Launches an explosive projectile that deals heavy area of effect damage. We have the burst mortar, which fires a volley of small mortars that spread out to pummel a wider area of effect, which that sounds pretty promising. We have the firewall mortar, which fires a specialized mortar round that ignites a wall of flame, heavily damaging enemies that try to move through it. So kind of something similar to like the wind wall ability that we'll be talking about later. But fire. Lightning coil strikes a single random target with an arc of electricity in front of the Colossus, prioritizing targets with status effect. Coil, which emits waves of electricity out from the Colossus, damaging all nearby enemies. And then we have the Colossus Javelin Heavy Assault Launcher gear. The Colossus allows for the fitting of a number of wrist-mounted weapons that can complement destructive options. We have the Heavy Cannon, which fires a large rocket in a targeted direction, which sounds awesome. Flamethrower, we've seen the EA play, but it unleashes a continuous stream of fire to ignite enemies. Flak Cannon barrages nearby enemies with a short range arc projectiles. Railgun, which EA play a couple times, devastates a single target with a forceful and precise kinetic round. Acid Spitter expels a acid projectile to damage enemies. And then we have the Colossus Javelin Support Gear. As a preeminent battle tank, the Colossus is capable of supporting its allies by decreasing incoming damage or diverting enemy fire toward itself. We have the Taunt, which forces all enemies within a certain radius to divert their attacks to the Colossus, which is
Very nice.
yeah,
Tanking.
like aggro control and ad control, I should say, and deflecting aggro. And then we have Deflector Pulse, which gives all nearby allies a damage resistance buff, which that sounds pretty promising to me. I don't think you can have both at once, so it's basically a choice of either to take all the fire or giving everybody more defense. But that sounds like it's going to mesh with my playstyle pretty well. I think I'm probably going to go with a Heavy Cannon because I'm always a fan of firing rockets. And Shot Coil could definitely be good for like a Colossus like melee build. Because you're just basically like anybody's even nearby you is getting shocked and you just finish them with a heavy smash. So it sounds pretty promising.
Yeah, like having a taunt on the Colossus, because there's not another ability mentioned on any of the javelins that has to do with aggro control. So that's pretty powerful. Hopefully it doesn't turn into something where it's like, well, you know, if you're a Colossus, you have to take taunt, and you can never take, you know, Deflector Pulse, because Deflector Pulse sounds. I mean, I guess if you have two Colossuses, you just really need one, maybe that'll need taunt. I just hope that there's, you know, enough variety that it's not just you have to take this because it's so much better than the other options. That, you know, taking Deflector Pulse would be silly taking taunt, because, you know, anytime you have, like, if you're the only person that has aggro control, that's pretty important. So,
yep.
Unless you gain aggro just by shooting things, but if you're the one trying to bring that aggro in, that's a pretty powerful ability. Any other thoughts on the old Colossus here?
Sounds
the
great.
Big old.
Nope.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I never thought that it would have like an acid spitter, you know, type ability on the Colossus. So it'll be interesting to see what those actually look like. Not to mention the lightning coil and the shot coils. If you can just have, instead of having a mortar, you just have this area of effect around you at all times that damages things. I mean, you'd be the person that clears out all the spiders that we see when they were fighting the Swarm Tyrant. You know, that could be a pretty cool little effect that you got on these things. And I wasn't expecting anything like that. I was always expecting slow, heavy targets, you know, big giant guns just to shoot things. But having something like a little storm following you around, that sounds pretty cool. All right, nothing else. You guys are good on the Colossus. We're going to move on to the Storm. I'll just go through this real fast because we saw a lot of cool Storm stuff. Any of these abilities, they also have videos that show off some of the abilities on the website. So go to the website. They've got some really cool gifts. They showed the Colossus using its siege cannon against different Earth Sixes. I think that are actually fighting each other. So I don't know how that situation came about. So, you know, pretty cool stuff. Go to the website. They got some really cool stuff. Maybe Devon will even pipe those into this while we're looking over these. So the Storm. So every javelin has an innate ability which it can use, blah, blah, blah. The Storm is the fiery strike. Storm uses the seals on its arm to deliver an explosive flash that deals damage and knocks back enemies that have gotten too close, giving the Storm time to reposition at a safe distance. And we read these last time because, like, the melees were actually updated, but nothing else was updated, which is kind of weird. I wonder why they didn't just wait until this week to update the whole thing. Kind of a weird choice. But the Storm Javelin has Kinesis gear abilities. That's hard to say. The seals, which are built into the Storm, can use various gear. The Anthem to release raw elemental energy in the form of Kinesis abilities. Gear is picked up as loot during missions and can be equipped or swapped out between missions. Lancers can equip 3 Kinesis. Yeah, laugh it up. Lancers can equip 3 Kinesis gear abilities total, 1 from each of the sections here. So the Storm Javelin Blast Seals. lightning strike, targeted strike that deals lightning damage. And we've seen that. I don't know if this was working all the time because it would seem like would actually hit enemies, but their health wouldn't go down when they were doing the lightning strike. So I don't know if there was like a bug going on. Like he tried to blast the Tasselars and none of them took any damage when he hit them. So I don't know if something weird was going on during the stream with that. So then there's Ice Storm, creates a field of ice that deals damage, rapidly building to a final explosion of frost. Flame Burst, a quick explosion that deals fire damage at a target location. Rime Blast fires out a sick beats that rhyme and annoy your enemy. So Rime Blast fires out a flurry of ice projectiles that deal damage and freeze close range targets. Then Living Flame, a burst of flame energy that seeks out and ignites targets. Then the Storm Javelin has Focus Seal. So that's its, the Blast Seal, different ability. The Focus Seals are a separate ability. Hoarfrost Shards, rapid fire shards of ice that slowly freeze a target in place. And I think that's what we were actually seeing when we were shooting shards out of our arm. I think those are the Hoarfrost Shards because there's multiples of them. So then they've got a Fireball, a versatile fire ability that can be fired quickly in small shots or charged for a larger projectile that explodes. And then Ball of Lightning. Ball of Lightning, Mike was using during today's stream, the Hoarfrost Shards that we're using during the Paris gameplay stream. So Ball of Lightning is a discharge of electrical energy that can be bounced off walls to reach targets behind cover. So I think Ball of Lightning would be a really good ability if you're going close quarters, if you're in a hallway, or if you're in tight spaces. More opportunities for that to ricochet around. If you're just kind of open space, you need one ricochet and then it's gone, right? So I want to take that when you're probably in catacombs. Then it's got Glacial Beam, fires a beam of powerful ice energy in a targeted location. That sounds kind of like the ability that the Ranger has, or just a sustained beam. So we got Glacial Beam, then we have Arc Burst, unleashes a blast of lightning that will leap to nearby targets for heavy damage. Sounds pretty sweet. All this lightning, you can just go full lightning build on the Storm Javelin, which sounds pretty awesome. And then it's got 2 support seals. It's got Wind Wall, which we saw Mike use a bunch of times. Generates a defensive wall of wind that deflects enemy projectiles. And then the Nexus creates a field which provides gear cooldown and reduction to teammates who enter its radius. So it sounds like speculating that they were probably going to move that ability and maybe give it to another Javelin. They give it to the Storm. So you've got your gear cooldown. So this is an ability that, could be potentially super overpowered just because anytime you do cooldown reduction, it gets pretty fast. And Mike kind of explained the Elemental Storm already. You get 3 different AoEs and you click those and then meteors or something here and they just smash down and they destroy everything. So pretty cool stuff with the Storm Javelin. Lots more that we would like to see. Hopefully we'll get to see all this stuff in the future, but pretty exciting to read about nonetheless. Devon, you're going to jump on the Interceptor and let us know what the Super Stealth Ninja does.
Super Stealth Ninja.
The Interceptor Javelin Exosuit melee ability. All right.
You're going to do it with as if you were on someone from Duck Dynasty. I've never seen Duck Dynasty, so I don't know how they talk in Duck Dynasty.
You'll be right.
Okay.
So, every Javelin has an innate melee ability, which can be used to deal damage to targets at very close range. This ability does not need to be earned, nor can it be changed.
You got to earn it, Devon. You got to earn it. You
I
can't
don't.
just be given stuff.
No
Participation trophies on this.
My melee ability is participation only. Okay. So it starts out here. You got double-bladed daggers. The Interceptor uses a pair of double-bladed daggers to deliver a multi-hit flurry of slashes, dealing damage in a chain of powerful attacks that can be continued indefinitely. I like it.
You can just keep doing it.
Just keep doing it. So the Interceptor the Interceptor Javelin Exosuit Technique Gear. All right. So the Interceptor Javelin uses a variety of gear to perform devastating techniques on the battlefield. Gear is picked up as loot during missions and can be equipped and swapped out between missions. So this says Lancers can equip 3 gear in their loadout. I don't know why it says Lancers instead of Interceptors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
So 1 from each of the sections here. All right, so you can equip 1 from each section. There's not, so there's 3 or 4 for each one. So the Javelin Assault Systems, you have your Seeker Glaive, throws out a razor-sharp projectile that seeks out the nearest target. Acid Bomb, like I said before, Ranger's not the only one that has a grenade anymore. Tosses a grenade which explodes.
A bomb is not a grenade.
But then they say
grenade. Listen with your ears. and read with your eyes.
I can't. I've got
Zip it
chainmail.
lip and then shut your mouth.
What?
What was that?
I don't even know. It's late. What time is it?
Yeah,
Let's
we're
keep
almost
reading.
done, Devin. Just push through here. Leave your Mario impersonations behind.
Shut the mouth, okay? Just say shut the mouth.
I don't know what that is. I don't think
That's
it's
so bad.
Oh,
So bad.
I'm so tired. Okay, what was I reading before I got in?
acid grenade.
Shut up, Owen.
Oh yeah, acid bomb tosses a grenade, which explodes.
Must finish this damn thing.
Yeah, so splashing all nearby enemies with acid. All right, Cryoglaive launches out a projectile that locks onto a nearby target and freezes it on impact. Cluster Mine throws out a group of mines onto a targeted area which explode on contact with an enemy. Spark Dash dashes forward, leaving behind a trail of electricity that damages enemies. That's right. So those are the ones you can choose for the assault system. Then you have the Javelin Strike system.
That sounds so like it's like a jet. This is the Javelin Strike system.
So you get the star. You shut the mouth, all right? Shut the mouth. The Star Strike
man.
charges an enemy with energy, which explodes after a delay. The explosion deals increased damage if the target is destroyed before the full delay. Plasma Star tosses a plasma-empowered shuriken.
Shuriken.
Shuriken at a single target, effective at long range. I like it. All right, you got Nova Strike sends out a projection of the interceptor, which will attack enemies it comes in contact with.
What?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Tempest Strike, a devastating single target attack that can stun smaller enemies. Corrosive Spray sprays out a jet of corrosive acid that damages all enemies hit. All right, so that's what you can select for the Javelin Strike systems. Now we have the Javelin Support systems. So you have Target Beacon, marks the target for increased damage.
I thought that said bacon.
Target Bacon. Marks the target for increased damage, which will switch to another enemy if the marked target is destroyed. So that's cool. Rally Cry removes status effect from all nearby allies. And the Interceptor Javelin Ultimate ability, Assassin's Blades. So they call them Lancers. Again, it calls it a Lancer. It says Lancers can deploy a special ultimate ability that displays the true strength of their Javelin exosuit. The Interceptor becomes supercharged, aiming its Assassin's Blades and carving through enemies at high speed. And it does look really cool. So
Yes, it does.
there's a lot of options there for the Interceptor, a lot of things to choose from. I like to be up close and personal, so that, definitely the Interceptor is something I'm interested in playing and checking out and seeing what I can do with it. So
Yeah, the nice thing is there's a lot of options. It seems like with all these gear slots for all these different javelins that we have, there's an opportunity to really be like, this is the build that I really like. Hopefully there's a large variety of, what the best build actually is. Because once you get into the end game stuff, it's kind of like, this is what you need to take. But it sounds like hopefully there's going to be a lot of different options for that to be different. So not everyone at the higher tiers are running the same thing. At least we'll actually all be able to look differently. Whether you like the P-51 Mustangs or you like the 1952 Mustang. I don't know. They probably didn't make Mustangs. Guys, this has been a really long episode. We've had a lot to cover. I still don't think we even scratched the surface of what we saw during the live stream today. There's still tons of enemies that we didn't talk about. I'd love to talk more about the hounds that we saw. Those look like some of the hounds that were the creature models that we saw back from 2017. Now those guys are working for the Dominion. Are the Dominion breeding these things? Are they just creating these things? Why are they working for them? Where are all these other creatures coming from? Still lots of things that we don't have answers to that we would like to know. I'm kind of glad that they just stuck with free play today.
Yeah.
I would be okay if they didn't ever touch any other story missions until the game launches, because I don't think they need to. I think the one thing that we really need to see, because we already know BioWare does story. Like JD will tell you every day that BioWare does story great. So we don't really need to see, all right, show us what this story is about. It's like, no, just let us experience that day one when it happens. But, showing us these systems, showing us, what free play is all about and the things that can happen in free play. I think that's all we really need from here on out. Keep showing us, what it looks like to do maybe a stronghold. Strongholds, it doesn't look like they have too much to do with the story. Most of them, hopefully, they don't. But, show us that stuff. Show us what a good crew looks like when you got 4 players playing. They're geared appropriately to what they want. They're geared, the level is appropriate to the level that they're at. Keep showing us that stuff. And I think, if today was any indicator of what the game's going to look like, the game is gorgeous. The environment is just amazing. I can't say enough about how excited I am to actually fly around in the world of Anthem. So until next time, guys, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. Maybe they got to show us some Shaper Storms, or maybe that's too high end stuff. But they just tease us with 2017. But hey, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace.
I must finish this damn thing.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer
Shurikens.
Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer,
All the
or through
shurikens.
email at freelancercodex@gmail.com.
The hurricanes.
Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com.
Talk way too
Our
much,
show
man.
will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Stephen Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.
Indeed.